Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're carrying consumer debt right now, maybe credit cards, personal loans, perhaps a medical bill that just won't go away, you probably know that feeling, that sense of, financial paralysis, where you feel like money isn't just sitting still, it's actively shrinking. Because those high interest rates, they're just compounding against you, quietly eating away at your future day after day.
That feeling of being stuck, of running in place, it's honestly the most dangerous part of having debt. It's what keeps so many people just making minimum payments, never really getting ahead.
Yeah, feeling overwhelmed.
And often, the reason we get stuck is just confusion. You finally manage to scrape together, say, an extra couple $100s a month. You've got this weapon, this extra cash.
Right.
But then you look at your list of debts, maybe a small one with a crazy high rate, a huge one with a lower rate, something in the middle, and you think, where do I even aim this thing? Where do I start?
That is the fundamental conflict we're tackling today. It's the core debate in debt repayment. We are pitting two financial titans against each other. The mathematically optimal strategy versus the psychologically motivating one.
Exactly. We're dissecting the debt avalanche versus the debt snowball. And this isn't just, a simple math problem. It involves a lot of psychology.
Okay.
So our mission today is to give you a really comprehensive analysis. We'll break down how each one works, look at the hard numbers with a clear case study seriously. One method could cost you over $1,000 more and keep you in debt for months longer.
Wow.
And ultimately, we want to equip you, the listener, with the data and the understanding you need to choose the strategy that fits your behavior, your personality.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going deep. We'll look at the mechanics of both, lay out that case study, and then this is key, reveal what might be the smartest approach of all, kind of hybrid strategy.
Sounds good. Let's start where the accountants and finance pros usually begin, with the numbers, the cold, hard math.
The debt avalanche.
That's the one. Think of it as the calculated, maybe even cold-hearted approach. It's purely logical.
Right. Favored by people who love spreadsheets, maybe.
Possibly. The driving principle is incredibly simple, though. Tackle the highest interest rate first. That's it. Maximize financial efficiency by stopping the most expensive debt from growing as quickly as possible.
So it treats debt like an engineering problem. Find the biggest leak, plug it first.
Precisely. The philosophy is straightforward, but let's walk through the actual steps, because execution is everything.
Okay, step by step. If I'm doing the avalanche, where do I begin?
You start by making a list. Every single debt you owe. Credit cards, loans, store cards, everything.
Okay.
And here's the absolute critical part for Avalanche. You order that list strictly by descending APR, annual percentage rate. Highest percentage at the top, lowest at the bottom.
And the actual amount I owe on each one, that doesn't matter at this stage.
It's completely irrelevant for ordering. That's crucial. A tiny $500 balance at 29% APR goes above a massive $20,000 loan at 8% APR.
Right, because that 29% is the real enemy here. It's costing more per dollar borrowed.
Exactly. Think of interest like a fire spreading. The 29% is spreading fastest, doing the most damage per second. You just put out the hottest fire first. That's step one. Order by APR.
Okay, got the list ordered. What's step two? This must be universal.
Absolutely mandatory for any debt plan. Step two, make the minimum payment on all your debts. Every single one. Without fail, you cannot fall behind on any account.
Stay current everywhere. Makes sense. Then step three, the attack phase.
Yes. This is where your extra money comes in. You take every single spare dollar you've allocated for debt reduction, that extra payment amount, and you throw all of it at the debt sitting right at the top of your list, the one with the highest APR.
So minimums on everything else, and then laser focus all the extra cash on that single most expensive debt.
Laser focus, that's the perfect description. Now, paying it off is great. But
Yes.
The real power, the avalanche effect, comes after you kill that first debt. This is the roll mechanism.
Yes, the roll. Explain that, because I think that's where people sometimes misunderstand the momentum.
We really need to slow down here because this is where the magic happens. Once that highest APR debt is gone, let's say it was that $500 card, you don't just, stop making that payment or spend the money elsewhere. No. You take the entire amount you were paying on that now dead debt, which includes its original minimum payment, plus all the extra money you were throwing at it, and you immediately redirect that whole sum to the next debt on your list, the one with the second highest APR.
So the total amount of money aimed at debt stays the same, or actually it grows with each payoff.
It grows. The payment dedicated to the next target gets bigger. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill, collecting more snow. But here, you started by aiming it at the mathematically correct target first.
That makes sense. The payment itself becomes this bigger and bigger weapon over time.
It's a powerful, accelerating force, and that mechanism is why the Avalanche mathematically guarantees two things: the lowest total amount of interest paid over the life of the debts, and the shortest overall debt repayment timeline, period.
Okay, let's talk payoff. You mentioned the maximum financial flair. What are we really talking about in terms of savings? Is it significant?
Oh, it's absolutely significant. We're talking potentially thousands of dollars. Based on typical consumer debt levels, consistently using the Avalanche method versus, say, just paying minimums or even the Snowball method, well, it can easily save someone $5,000 to $12,000 in interest over their repayment journey.
$5,000 to $12,000 just by picking the right order.
Just by ordering correctly and sticking to the plan. That's not small change. That's a serious emergency fund contribution, a significant investment boost, maybe even a used car paid in cash.
Wow. And the implication is clear. Money saved on interest isn't just saved, it's freed up. It becomes cash flow you can use for building wealth for investing.
Exactly. It flips the script. Instead of interest compounding against you, you free up money sooner to have compound interest work for you through investments. It moves you from defense to offense much faster.
Okay, the math is undeniable. Maximum savings, fastest payoff. But there's always a but, isn't there? What's the catch?
The catch is human nature. This is the motivation killer.
Wow.
Think about it. What if your highest interest rate debt is also your largest balance? Say a $15,000 credit card at 27% APR.
Okay.
Even if you're incredibly disciplined, throwing, say, $800 extra at it every month, that's still a big balance fighting against a high rate. It might take, I don't know, 18 months, maybe 2 full years.
2 years to pay off just one debt.
Right. For 2 years, you're making mathematically perfect progress. Your spreadsheet looks fantastic. But every time you log into your accounts, you still see maybe 4 or 5 different debts listed. Nothing has actually disappeared yet.
Oof. That lack of visible progress, that feeling of still being buried under multiple debts, even though you're working hard, that sounds incredibly demoralizing.
It really is. Our brains crave closure, achievement, those little wins. When the finish line for even the first debt feels years away, it's so easy for motivation to just fizzle out.
People get discouraged.
They get discouraged, they get frustrated, maybe they dip back into using the card, or they just give up on making the extra payments altogether. Burnout is incredibly common with the pure Avalanche method if that first win takes too long.
So you need the discipline of a robot, almost, for the Avalanche to succeed long-term, especially in those tough scenarios.
You need significant discipline, or at least a very strong focus on the long-term financial reward over short-term psychological satisfaction. The wins can be few and far between initially.
Okay, so Avalanche wins the math game hands down, but it often loses the mental game for a lot of people, which brings us perfectly to the other contender, the strategy designed specifically to fix that mental game problem.
The debt snowball.
The psychologist's favorite, maybe.
You could say that. The snowball starts from a completely different place. It acknowledges a fundamental truth about money. Personal finance is often 80% behavior and only 20% math.
That 80-20 split is huge, because if you don't actually stick to the plan, it doesn't matter how mathematically perfect it is on paper.
Exactly. A perfectly optimized plan you quit is infinitely worse than a slightly less optimal plan you see through to the end.
So the snowball flips the priority. Instead of optimizing interest savings, it optimizes
What?
psychological momentum.
Precisely. The driving principle here becomes smallest balance first.
Okay, smallest balance, not highest rate.
Correct. You essentially throw the interest rate optimization out the window, at least at the beginning. Step 1 is the same, list all your debts. But here you order them strictly by ascending total balance. Smallest dollar amount at the top, largest at the bottom.
So the interest rate is completely ignored in the ordering. You don't even look at it.
For the ordering step, no. Which I know feels deeply wrong to the analytical part of the brain. It screams inefficiency.
Yeah, it feels counterintuitive. Pay off cheap debt while expensive debt keeps growing faster.
But think about the behavioral impact. What happens when you target the absolute smallest debt first?
Well, you're likely to pay it off much faster, right?
Yeah.
Even with a smaller extra payment.
Much faster, maybe in just a few months or even weeks sometimes. Step 2 is still making minimum payments on everything else. Step 3 is directing all your extra cash toward that single debt with the smallest balance at the top of this list.
So if my smallest debt is, say, a $300 store card at 12% interest, and I also had that $15,000 card at 27%, I attack the $300 first.
According to the pure snowball method, yes. You ignore the 27% monster temporarily and wipe out that tiny $300 debt.
And the magic happens when that $300 is gone.
That's the key. It's the celebration and the roll, but viewed through a behavioral lens. Once that smallest debt is gone, poof, off the list you get an immediate, powerful psychological boost. A dopamine hit. You did it. You eliminated a debt.
It's tangible proof. You see one less account, one less bill arriving.
Yes. It creates crucial momentum. It builds belief in the process and, maybe more importantly, belief in yourself. For someone who's maybe struggled with follow-through before, proving they can eliminate a debt is like rocket fuel.
Okay, I see the power there. You trade some mathematical efficiency for that guaranteed early win, which then fuels you to keep going.
It's essentially an investment in your own confidence and motivation. You get this constant positive reinforcement loop. Pay off a small debt, feel good, roll that payment to the next smallest, pay that off even faster, feel even better.
And that makes you much more likely to stick with the whole process long enough to eventually tackle the bigger, scarier debts down the line.
Exactly. You start seeing it not as one overwhelming mountain, but as a series of smaller, achievable hills. Each victory builds strength for the next climb.
But we have to be brutally honest about the cost. This motivational tool, this series of quick wins, it doesn't come free, financially speaking. What's the mathematical drawback?
The drawback is significant, and it ties directly back to why the Avalanche saves money. By intentionally ignoring the high interest rates, the biggest financial fires, you're allowing those most expensive debts to sit there and compound, sometimes exponentially, for a longer period.
While you're busy celebrating paying off a small, relatively low-cost debt.
Right. You're essentially extending the time that your most toxic, most damaging debts are allowed to grow. You're paying a premium for motivation.
How much of a premium are we talking?
It depends on the specifics, of course, but the principle holds. The snowball method buys motivation at a premium price. It will ultimately cost you hundreds or even thousands more in total interest compared to the Avalanche. You need to go in understanding that. It's a calculated financial loss taken in exchange for a hopefully higher adherence.
Which is only justifiable if that motivation is the only thing keeping you on track.
That's the crux of it. If the motivation helps you avoid quitting altogether, then the extra cost might be worth it compared to the cost of giving up.
Okay, theory is one thing. Let's get concrete. This is where the case study becomes so critical. We need to put hard numbers on this trade-off. How much does motivation actually cost in a realistic scenario?
Let's do it. We've set up a pretty typical situation. Imagine a borrower with $17,000 in total debt spread across 3 common types of accounts.
Okay, $17,000 total. And crucially, this person is committed. They found an extra $500 per month they can dedicate solely to accelerated debt repayment.
That extra $500 is the key variable that allows for either strategy to work faster than just minimums. Now, let's look at the specific debts. This structure really highlights the conflict.
Lay out the data set for us.
All right. First, we have credit card A. This is the big one in terms of cost. $5,000 balance with a very high 25% APR. The minimum payment is $150 per month.
Okay, $5K at 25%. That's the clear Avalanche target.
Exactly, highest rate. Second, we have credit card B. This one has the smallest balance, $2,000. Its interest rate is middle of the road at 15% APR, and the minimum payment is $60 per month.
$2,000 at 15%. Smallest balance, so that's the snowball target.
Correct. And third, there's a personal loan. This has the largest balance at $10,000, but the lowest interest rate at 8% APR. Minimum payment is $250 per month.
So we have the highest rate, $5K at 25%, the smallest balance, $2K at 15%, and the largest balance, $10, $10K at 8%. Perfect setup. Let's run the Avalanche first.
Okay. Debt Avalanche path. The order is dictated strictly by APR. Credit card A, 25%, gets attacked first. Then credit card B, 15%. Finally, the personal loan, 8%.
Minimums on B in the loan, while the extra $500 plus CCA's $150 minimum, $650 total, goes to CCA until it's dead. Then that whole $650 rolls onto CCB's payment and so on. What's the outcome?
Maximum efficiency as expected. The total payoff time, 28 months, just over 2 years to clear all $17,000.
28 months.
Okay, and the total cost and interest.
The total interest paid over those 28 months comes out to $3,050. That's our baseline. The minimum possible interest cost with that $500 extra payment. $3,050 interest, 28 months. Got it. Now let's flip the script. Same debts, same extra $500, but the borrower chooses the debt snowball for the psychological boost.
Snowball path. Order is dictated by balance size, smallest first. So credit card B, $2,000 gets attacked first. Then credit card A, $5,000. And finally, the personal loan, $10,000.
So they're hitting that $2,000 debt first, even though the $5,000 debt is costing them way more at 25% APR. That 25% card just keeps compounding while they focus elsewhere initially.
That's the trade-off in action. They get the quick win of clearing CCB fast, but what does it cost them overall?
All right, the results for the snowball.
The snowball payoff takes longer. Total payoff time, 32 months.
32 months, okay, compared to 28 for the Avalanche, so 4 months longer.
Exactly. 4 months longer spent paying off debt and the financial cost. The total interest paid with the snowball method is $4,120.
Yeah, okay, let's put those side by side. Avalanche, 28 months, $3,050 interest. Snowball, 32 months, $4,120 interest.
The math is stark. In this specific, quite realistic scenario, choosing the debt snowball costs the borrower 4 extra months of being in debt and $1,070 more in interest.
$1,070. That's the quantifiable price tag for the psychological benefit of the snowball in this case.
That $1,070 is the cost of motivation here. And you have to think about those 4 extra months, too. That's 4 more months of debt payments dominating your budget, 4 more months of that financial weight. It's not insignificant.
No, it's definitely not. And this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because the math provides undeniable proof that Avalanche is cheaper and faster, which forces the ultimate question back onto the individual.
Exactly. It leads directly to the core behavioral dilemma we need you, the listener, to consider. Are you potentially going to pay more for motivation than you will pay in interest? Or, put another way, is your commitment level perhaps fragile enough that paying over $1,000 extra is a worthwhile insurance policy against quitting?
That's a tough question to answer honestly about yourself.
It really is. And this is where the advice has to shift from a universal do this to promoting self-awareness. Strategy matching becomes key.
Okay, so who's the Avalanche truly best for?
If you're highly analytical, maybe competitive, naturally disciplined, if the idea of saving that $1,070 is actually more motivating to you than the feeling of crossing off a small debt quickly, then the debt Avalanche is your clear winner. Maximize savings, get out of debt fastest, free up cash flow sooner. Go for it.
But what about the rest of us? The people who know, maybe from past experience, that sticking to long financial plans is hard.
Yeah, if you know you struggle with discipline, if you've started and stopped debt plans before, if you need that psychological reinforcement, that quick win to build belief and keep you going, then the debt snowball is likely the better choice for you.
Even though it costs more.
Even though it costs more. Because, and we have to keep stressing this, sticking to a mathematically suboptimal plan is always better than quitting the optimal one. Finishing the snowball in 32 months is vastly superior financially to starting the Avalanche and giving up after 6 months out of sheer frustration.
Quitting guarantees the worst outcome. Maximum interest paid potentially forever if you just revert to minimums.
Exactly. So any method that significantly increases your probability of sticking with it has real value, even if that value comes at a measurable financial premium.
That distinction, prioritizing adherence over pure optimization when necessary, is incredibly important. It makes you wonder, though, can we get the best of both worlds? Can we somehow harness the snowball's motivational power without paying the full $1,070 premium?
I think we can. And that leads us to what many experts now recommend as the smartest approach, a kind of hybrid solution.
A hybrid. Okay, intriguing. How does that work?
It's designed to strategically capture both the psychological momentum and most of the financial savings. You basically use the snowball for the launch pad and the Avalanche for the main flight.
So you're intentionally investing a little bit in motivation up front.
Precisely. Think of it like this. Step 1, snowball launch. You acknowledge your human need for that quick, tangible win. So you identify your single smallest debt, regardless of the interest rate.
In our case study, that was credit card B, the $2,000 one.
Right. You aggressively pay off just that one smallest debt first. Get it out of the way, celebrate it, feel that success.
Okay, so you make a small, targeted investment in momentum. You pay a little bit of that potential $1,070 premium, but maybe not all of it, just enough to get that first kill.
Exactly. You get the psychological boost, the proof of concept, the feeling of control. That quick win can shatter the feeling of paralysis and build crucial belief for the journey ahead. You've primed your brain for success.
Right, you've banked the motivation, now what? You've proven you can do it.
Now you immediately switch gears. You've had your motivational appetizer. Step 2, Avalanche finish. Once that first smallest debt is eliminated, you pivot straight to the pure debt avalanche method for all the remaining debts.
Ah, okay. So you relist the remaining debts, in our case, credit card A, $5K at 25%, and the personal loan, $10 at 8%, strictly by APR, highest first.
Correct. And now you take your powerful rolled over payment, which includes the original $500 extra plus the $60 minimum from the now dead CCB, and you unleash that entire larger sum onto the highest remaining APR debt, which is credit card A at 25%.
So you attack the most expensive debt aggressively for the rest of the payoff journey, maximizing your savings from that point forward.
Yes, you enter the main avalanche phase, but you do it with 2 huge advantages you wouldn't have had starting with pure avalanche. 1, the psychological momentum and belief from having already killed a debt, and 2, a larger snowball payment from the get-go because it includes the freed-up minimum from that first small debt.
That sounds really smart, actually. You get the early motivational win with minimal financial sacrifice, and then you optimize for the majority of the repayment period.
It aims to strategically manage the behavioral hurdle first, then maximize the math. You're essentially paying the smallest possible motivation tax to unlock the adherence needed to capture most of the avalanche's savings.
You're being financially smart and behaviorally strategic. You're acknowledging that maybe you aren't a robot, but you can use that knowledge to your advantage.
That's the goal. Because at the end of the day, most people don't fail at debt repayment because the math is too complicated. They fail because the journey feels too long and discouraging. The hybrid potentially solves the discouragement problem while preserving most of the financial efficiency.
That sense of taking control, not just of the numbers, but of your own psychology, that feels like the real key to long-term success here. So the debate really isn't Avalanche versus Snowball, is it? It's not about which one is universally right.
No, not at all.
It's about self-awareness. It's about honestly assessing your own discipline, your own triggers for giving up, and then choosing the strategy, Avalanche, Snowball, or hybrid, that aligns best with your specific human nature.
That's the core takeaway, absolutely. Know thyself, financially speaking. If you thrive on optimization and data, avalanche away and reap those maximum savings. If you know you need those early wins to stay in the fight, embrace the snowball or the hybrid, understanding the modest cost as an investment in completion.
And this whole idea, this recognition that behavioral factors often trump pure math in real-world personal finance, that has implications far beyond just paying off debt, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It permeates everything. It's why things like automating savings contributions work so well. They remove the daily decision-making friction, the need for constant discipline. Even if the interest rate on that automated savings account isn't the absolute maximum possible, the consistency it enables often leads to a better outcome than aiming for perfection manually and failing.
Convenience and removing behavioral roadblocks often win out over slight optimization gains, like setting bills to autopay.
Exactly. The power of the quick win, the power of making things easy. These are fundamental principles of behavioral science that apply everywhere. Building momentum in one small area often spills over into others.
Which leaves us with a really interesting final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. If this hybrid approach, getting a quick psychological win first, then optimizing works so well for attacking debt, where else in your life, financial or otherwise, could you apply that same principle?
Yeah, where else did prioritizing an initial easy victory help you build the momentum needed to tackle a much larger, more daunting long-term goal? Maybe it's not about debt. Maybe it's about starting an investment plan or saving for a down payment or even pursuing a career change or a fitness goal.
Could focusing on one small, achievable step first, the equivalent of paying off that tiny debt, give you the confidence and drive to then settle into the more challenging optimal path for the long haul? Something to think about. That strategic sacrifice now to buy the motivation for massive gains later.
It's a powerful concept, being both financially smart and behaviorally strategic.
Absolutely. We hope this deep dive has given you the clarity and the tools to choose the debt repayment path that's truly right for you.